Okay, let's just jump right into this. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolute digital anomaly, a case study of a channel that completely defies conventional internet logic. We're going to act as digital detectives here, using hard analytics to figure out exactly how an unfeeling algorithm processes pure avant-garde art. We'll track how a standard, everyday viewer transforms into a dedicated lore collector. It's an incredible clash of abstract human creation and rigid code. And the data trail it leaves behind is absolutely captivating. To get to the bottom of this, we've broken it down into a 6-step journey, starting with the mystery itself, looking at reach, the click paradox, retention anomalies, discoverability, and finally, segmenting the audience. Let's hit it. Part 1. The Algorithmic Architectonic Mystery. All right, you've got to see this. Look at how titles like Boolean Stern, or literally just strings of mathematical equations, are getting processed by the platform. You know, these systems are built to put things in neat, predictable little boxes. But how on earth does a machine categorize a title made entirely of symbolic logic? It's wild. It's a massive aesthetic anomaly. Raw philosophical expression is slamming right into these rigid digital boundaries, and yet there's significant algorithmic movement. It's like the machine is desperately trying to make sense out of the senseless. Section 2. Lifetime, Reach, and Top Performers. 334,642. That is a huge number of lifetime impressions for content this avant-garde. It totally proves the algorithm isn't just ignoring this channel, it's actively testing it. It's taking these cryptic, bizarre packets of digital art and serving them up to 1/3 people, basically trying to figure out where they belong. And that creates this incredible clash of worlds. If you look at the lifetime watch time leaders, you've got standard, recognizable gaming titles like Druids and COD 2024 sitting right alongside three-dimensional golden rhombus. I mean, no way should that work on paper. But the data doesn't lie. The algorithm is processing typical gaming content in the exact same breath as these deep, multi-dimensional, esoteric rabbit holes. Section 3. The Impressions and Click Paradox. So we really have to ask ourselves, what actually happens when the algorithm dumps these incredibly niche, artistic titles straight into the mainstream feed? Think about it. You're casually scrolling, looking for simple entertainment, and boom, you're hit with a cryptic puzzle. How do people actually respond? Well, the contrast is massive. Sunset's Finest pulls in a huge 18.6% click-through rate. Why? Because it's accessible. But then look at the highly cryptic TLW. It's scraping by at a 1.6% rate, even with the algorithm actively pushing it. The machine offers both, sure, but human curiosity hits a brick wall when faced with extreme abstraction. And this matters because it highlights a real bottleneck. The algorithm can serve up the unknown all day, but our own psychology is the ultimate gatekeeper. Section 4. Analyzing Audience Retention Anomalies. Okay, let's look at what happens after the click. These graphs perfectly capture the character quality and motives of the audience. On the left, Dialectical Virtues hooks an insane 79.4% of its viewers for the whole ride. But over on the right, TLW falls off a cliff. It drops to a steep 5.8% almost instantly. Basically, casual viewers click TLW, realize they have zero context to decode it, and just bail. But Dialectical Virtues, it acts as a filter. It finds that highly motivated intellectual viewer right away and locks them in. The data gives us a pretty profound takeaway here. Extreme abstraction creates extreme polarization. When the creator's ethos, logos, and pathos actually connect with the viewer, the engagement is absolute. They're hooked. But if it misses, the algorithmic rejection is instantaneous. Literally zero middle ground. And honestly, this explains why these niche corners of the internet are so incredibly loyal. The exact friction that scares off the mainstream is exactly what binds the true fans together. Section 5. Discoverability. Browse versus suggested. Let's try to syntax debug the syllogistic logic of where these viewers are actually coming from. The machine pushes negotiate bankrupt keys straight to the homepage, driving 81% of its traffic from browse features. It's a primary hook. But for TLW, the algorithm completely flips its strategy, relying on the suggested feed for 65% of its traffic. It's learning in real time. The machine understands it can't just blindside someone with deep lore right out of the gate. TLW only makes sense to recommend after they're already down the rabbit hole. But check out this anomaly. Death Dealer Device. This one finds a perfect balanced ecosystem. 51.4% from browse and 18.9% from suggested. This cryptic, alliterative title somehow cracks the code. It's catchy enough for the cold homepage, but deep enough to get recommended next to the heavy stuff. It's this super rare moment where the creator's artistic vision and the platform's categorization logic are in total harmony. Section 6. Casuals, Regulars, and Collector Identities. Look at how cleanly the algorithm segments human behavior. Casual viewers on the left lean towards broader, accessible hooks like more or standard gameplay. But your regulars on the right, these are your true collector identity players. They are devouring highly specific philosophical content like remember who you are, then forget. They aren't here for casual entertainment. They're here to collect puzzle pieces. Think about what that means for you. Every time you interact, the system dynamically decides if you're a casual tourist or a hardcore regular, and it reshapes your entire digital reality based on that choice. To quickly sum up the behaviors here, casuals are skimming for distinct visuals and broader concepts. Regulars are digging into the deep philosophical dialects. Fascinatingly, both groups actually bite on the core mathematical equation title. Guess math is just universally intriguing, right? But at the end of the day, the deep lore acts as a wall, isolating the dedicated regulars from the top-of-funnel masses. And the wildest part, the algorithm perfectly segments these users, somehow making total sense out of utterly chaotic artistic syntax. Which brings us to a final, really provocative question about this emergent architectonic mystery. As these highly specialized viewers click, engage, or bounce based on their own intellectual appetites, who is actually leading the dance? Is the collector identity actively shaping the algorithm's understanding of art? Or is the cold, unfeeling machine ultimately dictating how this mystery is even allowed to be discovered? It's a massive paradox, and the answer completely changes how we think about the relationship between raw human creation and digital code. Keep that in mind the next time the algorithm decides to serve you a mystery.
Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a completely different approach to data. We aren't just looking at boring bar charts and line graphs. Instead, we are literally treating analytics dashboards as digital artifacts. We're going to dive deep into the cold logic of YouTube data to see exactly what it tells us about human behavior. Our mission today? To completely reforge our understanding of audience behavior. We're going to syntax debug the data, refactor the rhetorical layers of this content, and unpack the psychological motives of a highly dedicated type of viewer. We want to figure out how their curiosity interacts with deeply structured puzzle-like content. Now, I know it sounds a little complex, but by the end of this explainer, you're going to see exactly how human curiosity leaves a very real, physical footprint in the digital architecture.
Okay, so let's dive right into this core question. We're looking at a channel that produces highly cryptic, almost puzzle-like content. And the viewers, well, they aren't your casual everyday scrollers. They are what we call collector identity players. These are folks who engage with content not just for passive entertainment, but as an active pursuit. They treat the channel like a vast, unfolding puzzle where they're constantly collecting clues and trying to decode a larger narrative. But what actually happens when that intensely human mystery is processed by the cold, unfeeling logic of a recommendation algorithm?
Section 1. The Architectonic Mystery Unveiled. Let's explore what the algorithm is actually trying to categorize here.
Just look at these titles. The channel's top content of the last 365 days brilliantly illustrates the foundation of this emergent mystery. I mean, on one hand, you have a video simply and ominously titled More, pulling in over 1,000 views, and right below it, you have a title that is literally a complex mathematical symbol equation starting with theta. You have titles like nano-complex-fundamental.pi and semantic syntax structure. Obviously, this isn't your standard vlogger fare. This channel is built on an emergent, almost oil-drawn mystery, and the content itself acts as an encrypted language.
And over that same 365-day period, we can see the overall audience pull. Despite these intensely esoteric titles, the videos consistently draw in views, from Everstop to Hawk Maiden to I Am Heretic. This isn't just random viral traffic, you know. This hints at a very specific, fiercely dedicated type of audience curiosity. The psychological drivers of these viewers are rooted in a deep need to decode, to collect, and to fundamentally understand the lore being presented to them.
Moving right along to Section 2, Reach and Algorithmic Syntax. What's really fascinating here is how the YouTube algorithm attempts to process and categorize this highly unusual content.
Talk about a stark juxtaposition. On one side, we see a massive algorithmic push. We're talking over 334,000 lifetime impressions across the channel. The machine is actively trying to cast a super wide net. But When you contrast that with the specific performance for a video titled Blade Forge, you get a totally different story. Despite the massive macro reach, Blade Forge sits at an incredibly niche 29 views. This reveals a seriously jarring disconnect. The algorithm can show the door to hundreds of thousands of people, but the actual human engagement, that decision to actually step through the door, remains highly selective. It's this fascinating clash between broad algorithmic reach and micro-level human intent. Which brings us to the most honest metric in all of analytics. Section 3, the ethos of audience retention.
Audience retention is basically our investigative magnifying glass, right? It strips away all the clickbait and the impressions. It takes abstract human interest and translates it into the cold, hard logic of watch time. It tells us the ethos, logos, and pathos of exactly when a viewer leans in and exactly when they give up and bounce.
Take the video Sunset's Finest, Gibraltar's Finale, for example. The audience's patience is immediately tested. The video has an impressive average view duration of over 6 minutes, which, hey, is nothing to scoff at. But check out the graph. There's a sharp initial drop, a brief little spike of re-engagement, and then retention just erodes down to 44.2%. The emotional stamina for the mystery clearly wanes as the video goes on.
But an even harsher reality is seen in the video TLW, where retention absolutely flatlines. I mean, after the first few seconds, it plummets and just stays at the bottom, resulting in a microscopic 5.8% average retention. It visually maps a massive, almost instantaneous loss of the viewer's attention. The algorithm might have brought them there, but the digital artifact proves they rejected the mystery almost immediately.
But you know, analytics is a landscape of extremes. Section 4. Debugging top-performing content. Within this sea of steep drop-offs and flatlines lies an absolute anomaly.
Okay, so the crucial point here is this staggering number, 79.4%. I really want you to keep this number in mind, because in the world of online video, retaining nearly 80% of your audience is practically unheard of, especially for cryptic, abstract content. This is the retention rate for a video called Dialectical Virtues. Compared to the steep drop-offs we literally just saw, this video maintains a steady, gentle slope that remains incredibly high throughout its entire runtime, ending at that 79.4% mark. This right here is a hidden gem that commands extreme audience loyalty. It completely defies the channel's usual algorithmic drop-off trends. Whatever that CollectorIdentityPlayer is desperately searching for, they absolutely found it in Dialectical Virtues. The tone, the pacing, the mystery, it all perfectly aligns with the motives of the audience.
Which forces us to ask, who exactly is watching and how on earth do they arrive here? Section 5, Identifying the Audience Player.
By synthesizing the traffic sources from across multiple videos in this catalog, a very clear pattern emerges. Browse features overwhelmingly drive discovery, eating up 68% of the traffic. Guys, this is a massive revelation. It means that the algorithm itself is acting as the primary guide. People aren't necessarily typing into the search bar looking for this exact content. Rather, the machine learning system has identified these specific viewers and is actively pushing this esoteric mystery directly to their homepages. The algorithm is literally the bridge between the digital puzzle and the human motive.
And that brings us to our final conclusion, Section 6, the final syllogistic output.
So, as we compile all this data, the wide reach, the brutal drop-offs, the staggering retention anomalies, and the algorithm's heavy hand, I want to leave you with this to ponder. As you look at these dashboards, are you just seeing performance numbers, or are you tracking the actual character, quality, and motives of digital explorers? We are syntax debugging the ethos, logos, and pathos of a collector identity player, watching them navigate a beautifully complex, emergent architectonic mystery. Keep exploring, keep questioning the data, and I'll see you in the next explainer.